So welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. And this time we very welcomed Corey Hobbs, who has recently come off stage about 3 weeks ago and is now currently the UK European FMG Bikini champion, brand new. So congratulations to her. But before we kind of want to delve in, today is kind of proof that your best season might be the one you just didn't take or potentially didn't take. We're going to run through Corey's story. It's about grit, it's about growth, it's about determination, it's about focus, and it's about eventually getting that absolute win, which probably wasn't expected. It definitely wasn't planned for, but it was an absolute proof of the work she put in, the commitment, the acuity, and obviously the time off and the development. I'm going to give the mic over to her. Corey, I'd love for you to, first of all, just introduce yourself, where you are in the world, what you're currently doing right now, what you do for work. So please introduce.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Corey. So I'm from the UK originally, but I have moved to Dubai. So I've been living here just coming up to a year and a half now. 29, and my main job over here is I personal train, online coach, but I also do cheerleading. So I own a UK company of cheerleading, and then I'm also brought it over to Dubai. So I'm working with a company here to try and kind of grow the sport here in cheer. So that's kind of what I'm doing over this side of the world at the moment.
Amazing. And how is the weather over there? Is it tapering off a little bit, cooling down a bit now?
Yeah. I mean, the UK 3 weeks ago was good. I was actually quite glad to be there. It was sunny, but it's a lot hotter and humid here. It's just coming into winter now, but I think it's still like 40 degrees, so it's hot.
Ouch. Yeah, at the beginning of winter, that's nuts. So let's start off in terms of a little bit of an origin story, Corey. Obviously, I know this, but I want the listeners to know. I really want you to kind of like open up and give, what I want the listeners to get from this is, a true, obviously not from start in terms of where success, but I really want them to understand the journey of a competitor and now the journey of a FMG regional champion. So why and when did you first start competing?
Oh God, I couldn't tell you the year. However, I was about 20 years old. I was in a junior category. So I used to live in Oxford, well, just outside Oxford, and I was a PT, just started PTing, like literally just come out of like college as a PT, so completely no idea about anything, to be honest. And there was a guy that I used to go to school with, about a year older than me, and I don't know what he did, maybe Miami Pro, that was it. So he did Miami Pro, and he was saying, like, I think, Corey, you'd be really good at this. And I was like, oh no, and I was obviously fully a cheerleader at this point, so I was like, no. And he was like, no, I think you should try it. So I was like, okay. So I kind of like toyed on the idea, and then I worked with a coach in Ireland at the time, just found him online, and I prepped for a show. I did Pure Elite. So I did Pure Elite in a junior category, and I won. So there I got a pro card. So looking back at the videos now, I was tiny. They're almost embarrassing, to be honest, but it was still good. I still won. And then I guess I got the itch for it. So then I went and did Miami Pro the same year. And again, I was in a junior category. Junior categories were like under 23. I don't know if they still exist now, but back in the day they did. And again, I went to Miami Pro and I just had a bit of a lucky streak again, and I won my amateur division, and then obviously got a pro card in that. And then I decided kind of which one I preferred, which was Pure Elite. So then I actually moved over to two other coaches, Tom and Ashton, because when I was at the competition they were there. They were absolutely annihilating it. They were winning everything, and I was just in awe of them, to be honest. So I started speaking to them, and then they started coaching me, which they were amazing. Then they took me to compete in 2 pro categories at both of those federations. Really enjoyed it. And then, life just kind of took over. Kind of was just dotting around, moving house. This is about the time when I set up my business for cheer in the UK, and just kind of took a little bit of time out. I got in a relationship, all of that type of stuff. Yeah. But the goal was always WBFF. So when I kind of got the itch and I was doing Pure Elite and that, they were always like stepping stones for me in order to get kind of to WBFF. I kind of saw that as like the queen of all of the fitness modeling federations. So that was always the goal. COVID happened, obviously years went by, and then when I came out the back end of COVID, obviously then we started working together. So obviously I was following loads of gals like Lauren and people like that who obviously worked with you, who kind of followed the same system between Pure Elite and moving up to WBFF. So obviously then we connected, and then I did my first prep with you, which I ended up going to Orlando to do, because long story short, cheerleading is always in America, World Championships is always in Florida, so it just kind of seemed like a cool idea to do my first international competition, and while I was already there with work anyway. So did that, and then again that little bit of like amateur lucky streak I seem to have. So did my amateur in bikini, and then I won and got my WBFF pro card. And that was
Amazing.
kind of the beginning of the journey, I suppose.
First one in, first one out, pro card on the first show, and well, pro card on the first 3 shows.
Yeah, for 3 different federations. So yeah, it was definitely amateur luckiness there.
There's no luckiness in it, Corey. I think in terms of where your physique started and where it is now, I think everything has been transitional and everything has been approached. Now, what I want to kind of dig into a little bit, because I know the story and, you know, obviously the listeners don't, was moving after that first high of obviously the WBFF Pro card in Orlando, which actually is where I got my WBF Pro card back in 2013. Absolutely nuts. Moving on to that, you then did another show, which was the LA show.
Yes. So
yeah. What was the gap between that? Between the first pro win and then your first pro show?
A year and a half, I think, if I remember rightly. I could be wrong.
I mean, roughly about that. It was definitely over a year.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, yeah. So I came out of WBFF, obviously wanted to continue going into a pro category there. At the time, I came out of a breakup, and then I just needed a new focus and a refocus. So I kind of like lost my mojo a little bit, and I needed that back. So we prepped for the LA show, which was perfect, exactly like what I needed, like mentally, just trying to regiment myself again. And so I went off and did like a solo trip in LA. The prep went really well. Like, I wouldn't say there was anything that stood out in that prep that I was like, it was a really bad time or something wasn't going my way. Actually, it was probably one of my easiest preps physically. I didn't do any cardio. We just did like high daily expenditure. Like, so as far as like the prep, it was a breeze, probably my easiest one I've ever done, actually. And then, obviously got to LA. Didn't really know anyone in LA other than one of the girls who was on Kirsty's team from the UK. So I guess we kind of like buddied up. Then, obviously did LA. Obviously, like, I guess it feels different doing like a pro. I guess when you turn up with your pro session, that there was like an element of pressure, I suppose. Like, it felt like a little bit more like, that element of pressure there. Like, people look up to you or like looking at you a lot more. So I definitely felt that. Registration, all those type of things are absolutely fine. Stepping on stage, it was a big category. I think there was something like 20-something in the category that year. So it was a big category. However, I didn't feel bad within the category. Like, I felt like I was in a good place, a good condition. I wasn't too worried. Obviously on stage for a long time. It was done in alphabetical order, so I'm a C, so I feel like I'm on stage for ages. So I remember getting really bad calf cramp at one point, but other than that, like, it was fine. We're on stage for a long time, so again, nothing in that sense. It was really good. Came off stage, obviously then we're going to awards and stuff. I didn't place. I don't really know where I placed because they didn't even announce it, so I have no idea whether I was 7th, 8th, or anything. Like, I have actually no idea. All I know is that I obviously didn't place in like the top 5, which obviously, comes with like loss and fail. I was definitely disappointed coming out of the back end of it. Obviously, I do like the pressure. I do like to put myself, like, trying. Obviously, I would always like to place. That was always kind of the goal in all my shows. I've always wanted to place. But then, I didn't really, there was not much follow-up from that. So I had no feedback. I actually have no idea other than obviously what people had told me or what we discussed. But as far as like anything else, judges' feedback, placing that, I actually have no idea. So it just felt like I came out of that show with kind of an emptiness because I didn't know what I did good, what I did bad. I remember speaking to one of the judges. I purposely went up and asked just because I wanted to know as well. And they literally said, "There's nothing, you were great." And that's all I got. And I was just like, well, obviously not that great, you know, because where did I come? Like, I have no idea. So it was just that I just felt really flat. And then I think coming from a really bad breakup, obviously going into such a good positive prep, it just felt like another like, ugh. And then, this is kind of when the transition to move to Dubai happened. And I just kind of wanted like a whole new reset of life. I think I fell out of love with the gym completely. I think that summer, that August, I don't think I trained once. And I don't think I've done that since I was a PT at like 17, 18. Like, I just didn't even I was in the gym, working the gym. But as far as with regards to me, I did absolutely nothing for a whole month. Like, I walked my dog and avoided the gym at all costs. Like, I just had no love or desire to train whatsoever. Then I moved to Dubai. So again, it was like a lot of work, a lot of moving house, a lot of, change. So I was training, but I wasn't really following like a structure or anything at the beginning. Just training to train, really, just to move, to keep myself like at a good kind of like maintenance level. Definitely lost a lot of size, definitely lost a lot of muscle and strength, but as expected. Got to Dubai, got myself in a routine, and I thought, right, come on, Corey. enough's enough. So obviously, being a PT myself, I'm not an idiot to training. I know what I need to
Mm.
do. So I basically programmed myself on all of the platform that I use with my clients, and then basically put myself back on a plan, building some muscle, just getting myself back in a routine. And then I guess I pleasantly surprised myself with how well I did by myself off season, in the sense of just getting back in routine, building back growth. Definitely made improvements from where I was between LA, which I thought I was probably more just pushing towards maintenance, and back to where I was, but actually I obviously over succeeded it. And then FMG was lingering around. So when it lingered around with WBFF, obviously slightly folding, obviously not really sure what was happening with that, there was the
Mm.
option to transfer. So there and then, I wasn't really sure if I was going to do it, but there was like only a gap I think you could transfer in. So I
Yeah.
just put in the transfer, and they sent me obviously all the booklet, and then it just sat in my cupboard for about a year. With
Did you
that,
have
no,
any time at that time, Corey? Did you have any inclination that you wanted to compete, or was it very much just life at that time was just not validating to be able to have that level of structure?
honestly, I don't know if I was going to compete again. In my head,
Mm.
I had no intention to. Like, I just fell out of love with it all, really. And I always felt like it was quite political, and it was just like, even if
Mm.
you worked your absolute hardest, it wouldn't really matter what you looked like. That was like the impression, and that's how it felt. But
Yeah.
I was obviously, loads of the girls I know that I'm friends with were competing. They all transferred over. So it kind of just, I don't know, there was just, I guess, a part of me that just thought, well, if you don't use it, you don't use it, but the option's always there.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like my approach to transferring. So like I said, it literally sat in my cupboard with no thought process for a very long time. And then I started watching everyone competing again at
Mm.
FMG, and I started speaking to some of the girls, and like they just spoke so highly of it. So then I obviously, once I got settled here and I put myself back in like a good routine and like a good mojo, I just thought, I need a new goal again. I want a new
Yeah.
focus. And then that's when I reached back out to you again.
And after a couple of times of me reaching back out to you saying, Corey, Bikini Athletic, which
Yes,
you didn't
true.
actually, we're going to run through this later on, but the reason why I kind of, so at the beginning when kind of FMG first started coming up and the new category came out and kind of Bikini Athletic, one of the first things that came to my mind was Corey, LA. This is exactly what turns out that Bikini Athletic grew a little bit in terms of through their, from last April through to now. So it's changed a little bit in terms of their criteria, not so much criteria, more of the fact of like the type of girls that are winning it. And it just so happened that when we started working towards the London show, I was like, well, Bikini Athletic Bikini, but as time went on, it was very clear that you fat straight into the bikini category very well, which is proof in terms of the outcome. Can I just ask a couple of questions back into the WBFF and that LA show? How much did that affect you, honestly? If you're going to kind of go on this opinion, all that work, all that build up, and through that peak prep, you were dialed, you were crispy, you were conditioned. We felt you were right. Like the whole prep couldn't have gone perfectly. And then to step on stage and potentially how you felt the best condition you've ever felt, and then not to even place. How does that hit as a competitor?
Honestly, I just didn't talk about it with anyone, really. Like, anyone that was asking me, and my friends and family, I just didn't want to talk about it. And the problem is, when you do shows like that, and social media in particular, like, it's so amazing because you get so much love and support by people, even like people that you may have like known 20 years ago, or people that you walk past, or them through someone, or they just follow you. For some reason, when you do a prep and that, people are like low-key following you, but they don't really ever speak up. And then you get to the competition, and then everyone's like, good luck, we can't wait to see you go well. So when you come off of that and then you've got nothing positive to say about it, it's how do you approach that? So you're just repeating the same conversations with hundreds of people, and that's the hardest part, I think, for me. It's having those conversations over and over again about how rubbish it is, really, and how much you hated it all. And then it just becomes like a burden that sits all on top of you, and then you just think like, why am I doing this? What's the point? I think you kind of lose like the focus of what the goal really was, like whether it's just like also for you, how it makes you mentally and physically feel. But then you just, all of that goes out the window because you just think, wow, what's the point? And then all those other
100%.
elements go. So super flat, honestly. And it's not a nice place to be. It takes a lot to come out of there. I'm quite good in the sense I'm okay with gaining weight. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I know some people really struggle, like, post show with like putting back on weight and things. I'm very lucky and blessed in the sense that I've never had that mindset. It's more the other thing factors for me, just kind of like it feels a bit like emotional trauma, I suppose, in some way, trying to like overcome those sides of things, of kind of like the time it takes, the amount of things I miss with friends and family, and also all of that, just going, is it really worth it just for that one day to feel this way at the end of it?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you hit the nail on the head right there. And also when it comes to, talking about the WBFF, because of the level of, because of the lack of clarity when it came to judging, and because of the lack of clarity when it come to actually like the transitions in terms of from year to year, in terms of who won the categories, it was very hard to get a dial in terms of how are we supposed to come in physically. And, they always kind of pawned that off as in terms of like, it's fitness, it's fashion, all that kind of stuff. And it was supposed to be a 40%, 20% split in terms of judging criteria. But, it was very hard. It's one of the things that a lot of competitors faced, where it was a lack of clarity in terms of what do they actually need to do to have a better chance of placing on the next things. I think that was very apparent with you, Corey.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even like asking for feedback, you never get a response. So you'd follow all the channels, and you just never get a reply to an email or a message. So you couldn't go any further other than just a guessing game of stepping on stage, really, and hoping for the best, which was hard.
So let's speak about show day. What did it feel like stepping on stage again? And what did it feel like stepping on stage with the FMG?
A million times better than LA, put it that way. Everything about FMG was exactly what all of the girls had told me. So I'm so glad that I did do it. And I've definitely got the itch again now, which I knew would obviously happen if I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was just everything about the whole build, like just the organization for one, for me. Like, I'm a creature of habit. We were saying this earlier. Like, I like routine. Like, if you see my calendar, it's color coordinated. Like, I have to like tick box at the end of every night. Like, I'm very like OCD and stuff like that. So when I get a reply to an email straight away, or I know information, like, that's like clear mind and soul for me. So for that sense, just the build up to it, like, I felt like I was just so like on it. Like, everything was just like good in that sense. I knew what I was walking into. And it was just a lot more friendly. Like, I think coming from what I said before when I did my first pro show, obviously it felt a little bit intimidating, like backstage, and when it felt like a little bit more judgy. Like, it just wasn't like that. So I guess in that sense, I guess it probably helped maybe being back on like home turf in London and stuff as well. I don't know. Obviously, I don't have anything to compare against, but it was like a nice feeling in that sense. And then, I think it's just all the little things as well. Like, this is going to sound so ridiculous, but like backstage, like, there was fridges. Every room has a fridge, which I know that sounds so silly, and it was like boiling hot, but it's like little things like that me and the girls are saying, like, it just goes a long way. Like, you can put your chicken in a fridge all day when it's there, rather than like in your bags. And there was like tea and coffee facilities. They provided you pump bands. They had like little Haribos and stuff. It was just all the little things. And I think like little things in consideration like that go like a long way of like, it shows like they care to some
100%.
extent. So yeah, that was good. Being back on stage, generally, just like, I don't know, I felt nervous. I think it helped because I was in 2 categories. So in that sense, and also obviously it worked in my favor a little bit, I guess, because we knew I was more suited to bikini than bikini athletic was kind of the aim, and bikini athletic was first. So I remember going on stage in bikini athletic in the morning, and I was shaky. Like, I could feel like I was shaky, because I think it had been so long since I was on stage, and I think I just kind of forgot how it felt. I haven't been a competitive cheerleader for a while, so like being under the spotlights and that, it's been a long time. So yeah, I was nervous, but then as soon as I did that first one, then I just completely like just settled again, and I just was like chill. And then I love the fact there's the prelim and the evening show as well. I think it's just by the time you get to the evening show, like, you're just so like chill and at ease, and you've had all the backstage build up, and everyone's just so excited that you just really get like fully invested. I would say out of all of my shows, that's the first time, and I was saying this to my family, and they also agreed from watching me, that it was the first time I was like fully present being on stage. Normally when I come off stage, I just zone out. Like, I can't really remember half of what happened. Like, it kind of just goes like a whirlwind. I'm like, how many times did we do quarter turns? Like, I just don't know. Whereas I literally could tell you from start to finish everything that happened, from like Kayla accidentally hitting my hand, from like one of the girls saying budget to the right. Like, I can remember everything. So in that sense, it was like amazing to just be like fully present in that moment.
Yeah, you got to experience it properly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas that's not normally been the case. But yeah, obviously winning was the cherry on top and very unexpected. So
it was. I mean, to be honest, Corey, as your coach, I didn't even think about that. For me, it was just making sure the whole process and the whole journey made up for what happened in LA. Honestly, like as a coach, that's kind of one, like I felt you were, I just felt you were hard done by, because leading into that show for me, that LA show, I was like, she's looking freaking amazing. I can't see anyone beating her in terms of physique. And when you came away without even placing, yes, it hit you, but it's not great for the coach either, because it's like, well, I feel for you and all the work you put in. So for me, it was like, I tried to get you back in maybe sooner, but it was, what happened was the right time for everything, right? Like everything, timing matters. And that time that you took away from it rebuilt your want to do it, your love for the sport. And I think it just showed in everything, in terms of the whole prep, the whole process. There were some challenges. We had a few ups and downs in terms of the prep, but you handled it well. And the proof is in the pudding in terms of walking away with a win. If you kind of had to look back on your previous shows and on the FMG show, the London show, what would you say was different about your mindset, look, overall kind of confidence? Did you feel like there was a shift in terms of that standpoint?
I definitely think on a personal level, I'm a lot more confident, but I think that comes from moving halfway across the world by yourself. I think me moving to Dubai was probably like a huge element to that, more than I realized, because I moved here with not knowing really anyone. So I've literally had to like put myself out there, build up a whole new PT client basis. And where I lived before, like I'd always lived in that area. Everyone knew me. Like even if I lived the town across from it, everyone knew me. Like I kind of just like was handed clients. It was just like a people's people thing. So yeah, I think moving here to another country, literally walking in my apartment and having not even like a bed, and literally having to start from like scratch. Like I think I've just changed a lot as a person in that time as well. Like, and I say this a lot to my friends at home, like my whole shift of like what I want out of life is different. So I think just like going to London and like being there and just going backstage again and stuff, like I was just so much more able to enjoy and embrace it, rather than feel like terrified, like, oh my gosh, I have to go into this environment that I don't know anyone. And I think obviously people make friends and connections in the bikini world, and backstage is so tiny, like it's tiny little box rooms, so it's really hard to like maneuver and see people and like kind of find your flow. So yeah, I definitely think the biggest thing for me would probably be the confidence, but probably stemmed from the last few years of moving to another country by myself, really.
Challenge builds the woman, right, in this sense.
Exactly.
So what is next for Corey?
Well, I came off the show and I was obviously on cloud nine, and I was like, Bali, Bali, Bali in my head is what I wanted to do. However, I feel like potentially I'm shifting off that idea. I mean, I'm not fully off the idea.
No, yeah, you leave the podcast to tell me this, Corey.
Well, we haven't spoke since. I mean, I'm not fully, like I've been looking at flights. I'm very lucky. My best friend's cabin crew and her partner's a pilot. So me for flights is very simple. And I stand to this, like she's looked at flights, she sent me flights. Like it's not like it's not been in there. I've looked and sorted bikini. Like it's not that this hasn't been in my mind. I think watching the last few shows, so I watched the New Zealand show, like I literally obsessively stalked it, looked at all the girls and stuff, was looking at kind of where I am at the moment and now I've got the itch, I've got like the proper itch, and like I want to like be like the best version of myself with it as well. Whereas I feel like I was very happy with my physique this time, but also there was many things I knew before I even stepped on stage like I wasn't happy with. I think also being probably one of the hardest preps, which is quite ironic that the LA was probably my best prep and this was probably my hardest prep, and they were both very different outcomes. But I definitely want to go to Worlds next year. That's like on my radar. When I obviously did the little bio for this competition, it was obviously I stepped on the world stage for cheerleading, and the goal was to step on the world stage for obviously competing in bikini or whatever category it would have been. Obviously, I didn't prepare for New Zealand this year. I think if I knew I would have done so well in London, it maybe would have been a bit different, but I obviously didn't prepare for that. And if I'm going to go to New Zealand, obviously living in Dubai, I just need to plan it all a little bit better. There needs to be a little bit of a thought process behind the planning of it. So it was too much of a short time frame to have not even thought about it to then jump into it, which is kind of why the Bali idea was like lingering. What would be perfect would be the Dubai show, but it's on my 30th birthday.
Yes.
That's the
I
problem.
mean, we were
That
kind of
dream.
considering that before, right? It was like, can we make UK? Is Bali an option? But it wasn't ideal. But
yeah, the Dubai show would have been the perfect scenario right now, but they hadn't released the date for quite a while. It was just like they hadn't said it for ages, and my 30th birthday was coming around. So I actually have like 20 people coming to Dubai for my birthday, and I was like, could you imagine being like, you guys all go have fun, but I can't join you with any of it. So, and I was like, and none of my friends have been here, half of them, and my stuff. So it was just like, yeah, it wasn't my time to do Dubai, but it's down the road for when I want it next time it's around. So I think in
100%.
my head, which I haven't told you yet, but in my head, I think what I want to do is go straight into off season and really like develop. Now my gym's got a refurb as well. Like I just feel like everything's aligning me to say you're on a high, but actually let's like go away. Now you're in the right mindset to build as well. Now you're in the right mindset to do an off season. Whereas last time, obviously, I was just trying to get back in a routine. And
Okay,
then I
so
think I want to do maybe like 3 shows next year, kind of close together. So either maybe do like 2 shows, Worlds, and then leave it at Worlds, or maybe do like a show, Worlds, Dubai, because Dubai seems to be falling around October time anyway, and it's only down the road from me. So it'd be nice to do something with all my Dubai people to come support me.
yeah,
Because that's what
100%, right on your doorstep.
So I
So
think that's what I wanted.
let me ask you this, Corey. From an athlete's perspective, from a you perspective, in terms of what you brought to the London show, what do you think you need to develop, bring condition-wise, muscularity? What do you feel you need to bring to Worlds to make sure we're going to hit a top 3 finish?
Lower body development. That's always been my issue. I think coming from being a gymnast and a cheerleader, my upper body, I don't think I'd even need to train it much at this point. I think it would start to oversurpass maybe what I need. For me, it's lower body development. I'm very long legged, so it doesn't fill out as much. It doesn't hold as much. If I lose weight, the first place it comes off is my bum. It's just, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate genetics. Yeah, I think like condition wise, based on the bikini girls, I think it's definitely a little bit more conditioned than maybe like WBFF was, which I think is good for me in that favor because I know my body does condition down quite well. I guess it's trying to get to a point where I'm holding a lot more in the lower development there with bringing in the condition. I would say
100%.
my posing was better this year, but there's always still room to improve. But I think that comes with confidence. And I think now I've done that and I've come off stage again, I already have like been thinking about kind of like what needs to be better, looking at all videos and stuff. So yeah, I think my confidence is there now to do it. I think it's just, I know for a fact, like looking at all the girls, like I was saying in New Zealand and things like that, I know where I can be, but I know I'm not there yet. So I think I'm thinking that's why I could do Bali and I'd probably do okay in Bali, or do I go away and come back and be like, wow, that's really made a difference? And that's kind of the approach I want.
Yeah, because Bali, what could you improve in terms of Bali? Yes, you could improve in terms of the overall kind of conditioning, but does that need to improve massively from where it was in London? Probably not. But yeah, I mean, the areas that you need to work on is, yeah, as you said, through lower body in terms of development. And that, fortunately, because I know you also love a structural phase as well as you love a prep, that's where the body changes. That's where the structural elements actually happen. So yeah, looking forward to that. So Corey, to round it off, and I appreciate all the information and kind of, what you shared. Send a message to anyone watching this competitor-wise who's been in the same position as you have coming out of LA, felt very deflated, felt like you weren't judged properly, and almost kind of feeling like you kind of want to hand it, throw the towel and hand it in. What would you say to that woman right now?
Trust in the timing, I think. I think like the world has a funny way to like align itself. Like I think every year you go through life, you become a different version or a different chapter of yourself. So each of those will bring a positive or a benefit that's going to make the end goal be the end goal you want eventually. It might not be there right then, but it might be there in 1 year, 5 years or anything. And I'm a true believer of signs. I don't know if you saw my story the other day, but when I go to, when I do stuff, I'm very observant of everything. So when I got on the plane, I was begging to be on business. I was like, please let me just sleep this flight. Please let me get the upgrade I want, please. And I got the upgrade so I could sleep on the flight. And it was the number 24, amazing. And that's my birthday. And I looked at it in that moment and I just thought, this is going to be a pattern for the weekend. So I took a picture of it. Like I could literally timestamp it all on my phone. And then when I got to the hotel, I got there super early at like 7:30, 8 a.m. And I was thinking, like, oh, just let me check in so I can just go chill out. Like some hotels don't let you check in early. I'd asked for early check-in and they said, it's all dependent of the room being booked.
Like they always do.
I just went straight in and checked in and the room was number 23. And then in that moment, I just went, I guarantee my show number's number 22 or it's got the number 25 in it. And I took a picture again because I just knew, because everyone thinks I'm crazy. So I was like, I'm documenting it. And then obviously went to registration and my number was 125, so I had the number 25 in it. So there and then I just thought it's going to be a good weekend. And then weirdly, the judge, Beth, she messaged me after the show and she was like, this is crazy. But the bikini you wore in LA, like that was second hand, wasn't it? And I was like, yeah, I bought it and then I built other adaptations on it. She was like, that was my bikini. And she was like, and in LA, I did place? She was like, I didn't place at all. And she was like, and I've been looking at your profile, and she was like, you did LA with WBFFF and you never placed, and you obviously were devastated, same as me. And then you went to a London show, okay, FMG WBFF, but then you came back, you did another show, and you won in a blue bikini, and I won in a blue bikini. And she was a judge.
I don't think you can argue that, to be honest, Corey.
So I'm a true believer of like trust in signs, trust in that feeling, and like if you see something and you think it, like trust in that.
Amazing. Yeah, as I said, no one can deny that. And yeah, we were very pleased to have you back. Very glad we got you back in the FMG, and yeah, it paid off better than I think anyone expected. So looking forward to your future, looking forward to the next show you do, looking forward to seeing you on stage. But just want to say thank you, Corey. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on the next one. All right, guys, we're out for now. Bye-bye.